Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into Honor the Land, presented by FanDuel on the Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb, he is Chef Zay, and we are officially a week and some change away from the first regular season game of the Cleveland Browns season. It's been a long, long time coming. Zay, how excited are you?
I almost couldn't see you. You're camouflaged.
All right, it's the first one today.
No, I'm doing good, man.
Good.
You know, it's, we got 13, 12 days.
Yeah.
What is it?
It's 12.
Like
yeah,
Either
it's
way,
12.
I'm ready for the season. How are you doing? I know
I'm
you're
good. I'm
Mr.
excited.
Busy.
Yeah. Ohio State this Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited, but I'm honestly more excited for the NFL season to ramp up. I mean, it's been a long off season of hypotheticals, potential trades, breakdowns of the roster. I'm just ready to watch it count. I'm ready to watch the product on the field, ready to see it count, and I could not be more excited to do it against Cincinnati Bengals.
Week 1's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking about just all of the hype. Like, this is going to be the perfect test for the Cleveland Browns, specifically the defense.
Mhm.
Like, we're going to get a real meter test here to see how good this defense really is. Joe Burrow's got all his weapons. Browns have everyone minus Martin Emerson.
Yep.
This is going to be one of those things where it's like, okay, if we can contain this offense to below 20 points, which is a big ask to do.
Yeah.
But, I mean, last time we opened up, they only had 3. They still had the same weapons, essentially, on that
Yeah.
offensive side of the ball, but minus Joe Mixon. I just cannot wait to see what this defensive line is going to do. We all know how that defensive line and Joe Burrow is. So I'm super excited for the defense.
Yeah, I am too, and I think there's a pretty big difference in the Browns' defensive line help, which we'll talk about a little bit later.
Mhm.
Now potentially could get Mike Hall back week 1, which would be enormous.
That would be huge.
But the Browns' defensive line versus the Bengals' offensive line, I mean, if the Browns are going to win the game, the difference is going to be made there, and I don't know if there's a better advantage there, whether it's on the edge against the tackles, you trust your guys to get after the quarterback. Alex Wright had a great preseason. Isaiah McGuire had a great preseason, and obviously you got Myles Garrett on your roster. On the inside, the Bengals are banged up really bad at the guard position. Whether they're bringing somebody in to start, pushing somebody up within their depth, they're in a tough spot where you feel like with Mason Graham, Mike Hall, Malik Collins, whoever's out there, you have an advantage. That is going to be where the game is won for the Cleveland Browns. It's not going to be, on the other side of the ball, putting up 30 points, even though they very well could. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be, Jamar Chase, Denzel Ward, which will make a difference, but it's more so going to be the trenches. That is going to be the standard setter for the Browns.
10 defensive linemen on this 53-man roster. Alex Wright, Joe Tyron Shainka, Cameron Thomas, Isaiah McGuire, Aiden Huntington, Shelby Harris, Mike Hall, Mason Graham, Miles, and Malik Collins.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how much water and just spit is in Jim Schwartz's mouth right now and how he can just not wait to unleash these guys. Like, I'm the thought that we didn't get to see Myles Garrett in this preseason with the defensive line that we have already been seeing has me ready to run through this wall right now. I'm so pumped.
That's a tough wall to run through. It's a thick wall.
I think week 1 it could get ran through.
Well, I hope for your sake it does get run over if you try it. But, yeah, I mean, it's been really good to see that. Defensive side of the ball has been awesome. Offensive side of the ball, obviously, it's been the talking point all offseason. You feel more confident in the defense. Kenny Pickett is no longer on the roster. That's the big elephant in the room right now. He's been traded to the Las Vegas Raiders. You get a 5th back. And, for better or for worse, Kenny Pickett gets a trial run at becoming the Browns starter, picks up an injury. Whether he was going to be the starter or not, that was in Kevin Stefanski's mind, the front office's mind. That was all theirs. But from the outside looking at it, seemed like he had a chance to be, and now he's a backup in Vegas. Were you surprised by that move? I know I was a little bit.
You know me, I've been calling Kenny Pickett to be the guy to be traded for months.
Yeah.
If there was going to be a guy, it was going to be him.
I agree with that. If there was going to be a guy, it was going to be him. Yes.
I think the thing that I've come to the conclusion when I was trying to, before the show even started, I'm like, man, there was something I want to talk about, and it's this. They've been telling us that it was a quarterback competition the entire time. I think the second that they signed Joe Flacco, the quarterback competition was never for QB1. It was always going to be for QB2. And the only reason why I say that is because you bring in the 2 rookies. Once you bring in Joe Flacco and you heard that Myles Garrett interview, there was no way that Kenny Pickett was going to be...
No shot.
I don't think there would be enough for Kenny Pickett to win that job over Joe Flacco. But when you're talking about a rookie, the real competition would have been is Kenny Pickett good enough to be our backup once the Joe Flacco thing goes on? Like, would we rather take a risk on Kenny Pickett, or would we rather take a risk on one of the guys that we love so much in the draft? So I'm wondering, is that a good logic? That am I putting pieces together, or am I overthinking it?
I think the Browns, there's a timeline. I think there's a timeline where if they start slow, regardless of how Flacco plays, we're all on the same page. Plug could just get pulled.
Yep.
That's the reality of it. I think they feel on a timeline, potentially with 2 first-round picks playing into this equation, where they don't necessarily have to figure out what they have in Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders this year, but they got to at least try, and they probably have to try both of them. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more the rationale of if we stink during the first half of the year and we pull the plug on Joe Flacco, I don't know if we're throwing in the towel. I don't know if we're raising the white flag. I know Stefanski, who we've talked about potentially coaching for his job, wouldn't do that. But at the same time, in a longer viewpoint of this whole thing, it would be more beneficial for the Browns to roll out guys who are on rookie deals to see what they have instead of a Kenny Pickett, or instead of, if a Tyler Huntley were to stay, instead of an older guy, because you got to have a much better idea of what you have in those quarterbacks going into next year with 2 first-round picks.
Let's play this since we're in the 13-day window of no football. Yeah. Let's play one hypothetical, and I know probably not going to like it on the socials. It is what it is at this point. But let's just say that the Browns didn't draft Shedeur Sanders, right? Mm-hmm. And they did make out, and everything else lined up the same. The first move was Kenny Pickett, second move was Joe Flacco, third move was Dylan Gabriel, and everything played out the same without the injury. Let's just say Kenny Pickett had Shedeur Sanders stats. Mm-hmm. Okay, would Dylan Gabriel, would he have shown enough to take that backup position, and would Kenny Pickett find himself at on third on the depth chart?
I think second. I still think he'd be second. If he was healthy, I think if he was healthy, it legitimately would have been some kind of quarterback competition between him and Flacco. Like, there were times where he was getting the first reps above Flacco in camp. And, reps don't mean everything in camp, but there were times that was happening. So I do think, if Kenny Pickett showed something good in preseason, it would be a much different spot for Dylan Gabriel, who would kind of be getting groomed into being the franchise guy, quote unquote. Whereas now, when you have 2 quarterbacks, him and Shedeur Sanders, you're, I guess, grooming them into be a franchise guy, the franchise guys, but you don't know which one it's going to be just yet. So I think it'd be a more patient approach with Dylan Gabriel if it was him, Pickett, and Flacco in the room instead of Flacco, Shedeur, him, and then if Pickett was there, Pickett.
So last thing before we go to break, would the destiny of Joe Flacco be different then? Yeah. Would he go from potential starter to instantly third on the depth chart? Would you rather, are you turning to Joe, or are you turning to Dylan Gabriel? That would be the question I think that they would be asking themselves.
Yeah, which would be fair. I think it'd be weird if it was just Flacco, Pickett, Gabriel on the roster. If you went, Pickett was your backup all along, season goes haywire, screw it, let's put Gabriel in. I don't think they're going to do that. Or would have done that, excuse me. I think it would have been Flacco. Okay, it doesn't work out. Let's try the other guy we got in here. Okay, it doesn't work out. Let's throw our rookie in after we've, let him sit, let him learn, let him develop.
That's either a really, really long season in the worst way, or a really, really up and down season like 2023 when one week it was PJ Walker, another week it was DTR, another week it was Flacco. Can you believe we went 11-6 that year? That's wild to me.
I can't. A lot of close wins. We'll talk a little bit more about the quarterbacks and running backs in our 53-man roster breakdown up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. We're going to talk quarterbacks and running backs in this first segment as it relates to 53-man roster, but we do have a little news, Zay. Practice squad signings have just been made.
Yep, per Mary Kay. In addition to claiming Sanders and Bernard Converse, the Browns have also made the following moves. They've waived Brendan Bates and Dom Jones, cornerback and tight end, and they have signed to the practice squad Sal Cannella, Caden Davis, which we were all hoping for, Christopher Edmonds, your guy, which I was also surprised he didn't make the cut. Ralph Holly.
Nice.
Shout out friend of the show. He got it back. Lamon Ray James. Sam Kamara, which was a familiar guy. Sense. A lot of the one everyone's been waiting for. Amani Marshall is back.
Okay, good.
So that's good to know. Julian Okaro, I was completely thrown for a loop when he didn't make the cut.
There's just so much depth.
Exactly. And then Travion Williams also made it back to the practice squad. So those running backs gave enough tape out there to get themselves a practice squad. And if one goes down, they're first up.
Absolutely. And I think that the skill position signings, running back, receiver, are big. D-line depth, you're obviously going to need, and it's crazy. Like names like Julian Okwara, Sam Kamara, like those guys are, I think, guys that would make some 53s. Obviously, if they're clearing waivers, then they're probably not a high priority on a lot of these teams' lists, but could be depth pieces in other places outside of Cleveland. But now can be practice squad guys and almost instrumental in the depth of this defensive line if somebody were to go down, which is good to see. Let's talk running backs before we finish up with some rookie quarterback talk, though, because Monty Marshall now on the practice squad. Yep. The Browns also just signed another running back, I believe, from the Chargers. Yep. And that was after they closed the 53-man roster with just two guys, just Jerome Ford, just Dylan Sampson. Now, I saw that before these moves, and I was like, wow, Quinshon Judkins might be real. He's coming back soon. Do you think that's the case?
It just seems like they're taking all the precautions. This is the typical Andrew Berry in front office approach to this thing, and it's like, we're going to make sure that we have everything in line just in case Judd doesn't come back. The type of running back that they had, the insurance and Amani Marshall and Travion Williams on practice squad. Not seeing Pierre Strong on that list is actually kind of weird, too.
Yeah, it's weird.
They beat out him. But I still think deep down it's going to get done. Number one, when it's all said and done, like a lot of these contract negotiations come back to money. There is way too much money on the table for them not to get something done. You'd be a fool. And then the whole speculation of can Judd go back to college? Like, again, there is too much money on the table for this not to happen. It's just a matter of time, honestly. Do you think Rashee Rice suspension can play into this potentially?
Well, that's a good question. For those who don't know, Rashee Rice suspended for the first 6 games of the year. I don't think it has a wild impact on it, to be honest with you. I don't know. Well, here's what I'll say. I think, in my understanding, Rashee Rice and his team, is whoever representation, kind of accepted the 6-game suspension, and I don't believe that September 30th date holds much weight anymore. I don't know if he has to go back and do that. I'm not 100% sure, but accepting the suspension is essentially mitigating any long-term stuff for this season as well. I'm not convinced that the Browns would want that. I'm not convinced they'd want the NFL to say, hey, Judkins, you're suspended for 4 games, and them say, okay, cool, yep, everything's pushed to the side, hey, everything's all good, let's bring Quinshon Judkins in. I don't think it has a big impact.
So this is something that they can reference. Do you think back in 2017, Ezekiel Elliott received a 6-game suspension, and he was never arrested nor charged criminally? The NFL found credible evidence of the physical force being used against his accuser. Do you think this is the same type of situation as Ezekiel Elliott at this point, and they know that, hey, if anything, 6-game suspension is very well on the table, and that's probably what is trying to get figured out now, why they're waiting for the NFL investigation, because they have something very, very similar in this case to go along with?
I think if there were to be a suspension given out, that specific suspension number, the 6-game number, could be used as a reference point. I think these situations are different, so I don't think they can equate those.
Okay.
So it's a tough spot. And again, we're on the outside looking in. We only know so much. But seeing that original move, we were like, okay, maybe this is happening sooner rather than later. And then, Amani Marshall to the practice squad, he brings somebody in from the it's not the case anymore, I'd say, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. What's interesting, though, is the departure of Pierre Strong, which you talked about. So if I'm not mistaken, I believe he was concussed in that game, but he did pick up a concussion. Regardless, was evaluated for concussion protocol. Like, okay, you don't know the status for week 1. You're kind of waiting to see. Cut. All of a sudden, that's not only a third-string running back who got burned, but it was a special teams guy who made an impact. Do you see either of the running backs contributing more on special teams now? What do you think they go with that route?
Well, Gage was doing some return work as well.
So is DeAndre Carter.
Still made the roster. So I think they have what they want. Again, they've got a lot of guys. It's weird because you can almost kind of compare the situation to what the guards have. Like, there's a lot of utility guys on this team that could play tight end or running back or receiver, or the Aiden Huntington playing special teams, defensive line, and a running back spot, fullback. So I think they are prepared for everything. Now, will we see Dylan Sampson or Jerome Ford on that? I think if we're getting to Jerome Ford back onto the special teams, That means that Gage didn't work out.
Yep.
That means that DeAndre Carter probably injured himself or didn't work out, and we're talking about some problems. So
Serious problems.
I'm hoping that the running back room is clear from those duties because we have guys that can do the special teams work.
I think you're right, and we'll talk receivers and tight ends next segment after we briefly talk about quarterbacks here. But the DeAndre Carter thing was huge for me too. I'm glad he did not go anywhere. But let's finish talking about quarterbacks because obviously you have 3 on the roster now. Flacco's the starter, Gabriel's the backup, Shedeur Sanders the third string. Do you still think we see all 3 this season?
That all predicates on Dylan Gabriel. This
not Flacco?
Because I think we'll see Dylan. I think it's gonna. I think Here's what
it is really tough. It is really tough
because if Flacco is winning games, I don't want another Brian Hoyer situation. That is the one thing that haunts me. They gave up on Brian Hoyer so fast once they had that 2-3 week stretch where they lost some games and Johnny Manziel was looming over. I don't want to be in that situation where we're tied for first place 1 week and then we go have a couple bad stretches. It's like, you know what, the guy that got us here, we're just going to throw him off to the side and see what this young guy can do and then just throw away the whole season. You listen to some of those players who were on that roster, the Dante Whitners of the world, and there was another guy who was on the radio talking about it, but the players that were in that locker room were so irate that the front office would do that to push that on them because they felt like they were going to the playoffs. So if we're winning games with Joe Flacco, and there is that possibility that even if we go through a couple weeks stretch where we're not winning games and we still have a shot to at least be in the conversation, I don't want to throw that away, and that's what scares me. So I want to see Flacco play all 17 games. I don't want to see Dylan Gabriel, but if we were to see Dylan Gabriel, that would mean that Joe Flacco didn't work out, and I'd be perfectly fine. Now, the Dylan Gabriel thing and the Shedeur, if Dylan comes out and plays good, we're not seeing Shedeur this year.
Which would be, the media world would freak out if that happened. What do you think happens then? Request a trade?
I think it would be one of those things where we see like with DTR, he'll be that guy that we're gonna look at every single year, and it's like, okay, Shedeur's here just in case. There will come a point in time where you do get to see Shedeur, but if Dylan Gabriel comes out and does enough and puts enough tape out there, especially knowing how much these guys love it, like we saw a glimpse of how he runs this offense. He runs it exactly how Stefanski wants it. So as long as he's continually running that offense, it's gonna be very hard for Shedeur to get out there.
Yeah,
but I think we could probably look up and. The second Dylan comes out next year, I think the bigger question would be, do they go quarterback again? That would probably dictate the whole Shedeur Sanders thing. But
I don't think they would, at least in the first round. If Dylan Gabriel's playing well.
You know what? How much longer we got for this segment? Here's what I'm worried about with that. I'm worried that Dylan plays just good enough to where they are in a predicament where it's like, I don't know, we can take this quarterback, but we can't take this quarterback. And then they're like, you know what? We're not going to take him. This is our guy. And then he comes out and is not the guy.
Yeah.
Also, the factor that no one is putting into this, everyone thinks that these guys have all this time. Kevin Stefanski and these boys have to have something right.
Yeah.
If you go 4 wins, 3 wins, I'm sorry, I can't buy another year
That's
of
fair.
you trying to
It's
tell
very
us
fair, yeah.
that, hey, this is the right guy. He's going to evaluate the right quarterbacks. Really? Because you told me Dylan Gabriel was it.
Yeah.
You told me Kenny Pickett was it.
Yeah.
You ran with Joe Flacco. Like, when is enough enough?
That's a great question. I do also think another very, very interesting layer to this is that whole, like, good enough argument. Like, where does that put you in terms of conviction to draft a quarterback next year? If my front office and my head coach is not convicted enough to draft the quarterback, regardless of how the previous quarterback played, I don't want the quarterback. If they're not looking at Arch Manning, let's say, and saying, even though Dylan Gabriel was solid last year, we like this guy so much, we're taking him, I don't want to take that quarterback. You got to be convicted enough to take the quarterback, regardless of the play from Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur last year, in order to pull the trigger. And I think if there's a world where they're even partially not confident or partially questioning taking the quarterback, you don't even do it because you have to be so convicted in that guy that you take him. You know who they were convicted in? Dylan Gabriel. Didn't make sense to take him in the third round. They were convicted in him, and that's why they took it.
But see, that's the other part of this. It's like, if you move on with Kevin Stefanski and these front office guys,
move on like 5.
No, I'm saying like move forward with them, and then 2 years down the road, you can these guys. And then you look back at 2026 and be like, damn, we could have had this quarterback.
Yeah. Yep.
And we didn't because we let these guys say Dylan was it. Now Jimmy Haslam is back in that not so good grace. Now we're back in this quarterback conundrum. Now we're back to being the laughing stock and the low hanging fruit. You guys went with Dylan Gabriel, short guy, when you could have had prototype quarterback A, and it's like we don't want to be in that situation. So this is I thought last year was going to be the biggest stepping place for this organization.
Yep.
It was one of the things that needed to happen. This is by far the biggest year that this regime has ever had, because this will dictate everything from now to Brook Park and who's going to be your future really moving
100%.
forward. Because either this guy is going to be your quarterback or you got a really damn good shot to get one next year.
Yeah.
And then what type of confidence do you have in your coach? And is that if you go 3-14 next year?
Well, let's hope they don't go 3-14 next year. We do have to move on. We'll talk more 53-man roster, receivers, tight ends specifically up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay, and we're kicking off another segment back-to-back with more breaking news. The Cleveland Browns are signing Malachi Corley, who went on a top 30 visit with the Cleveland Browns last year, prior to last year's draft. And, most notoriously on that Thursday Night Football game against the Houston Texans this past year, had a ball that he dropped just short of the end zone when he was walking in completely untouched. Now, obviously, Malachi Corley is more than one play, right? And he is not, bottom line, part of the new Jets regime's, I don't know, belief is the right word, but roster construction. A lot of times when you see new GMs and new coaches come in, we're seeing it with the Patriots, we're seeing it with the Jets, they're pushing people to the side that they didn't draft or didn't want on the team. That is partially what happened in New York. He's in his second year in the NFL, but the Browns are giving him a chance. What do you make of that? Do you make anything of that move?
First thing that comes to my mind is this the roster, the practice squad? Like, we got Caden Davis on this bench right now. I'd rather see him right now. Just because I'm familiar with him and, we see the production. But I am a little just surprised is the word, I guess. I just don't understand. Where does he fit in this?
It's literally because you assume Jamari Thrash is the third receiver.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of shots. You put up more shots, you'll probably make one for the fourth receiver, getting confident in it. It's Isaiah Bond. It's Gage Larvdan. It's Malachi Corley now.
But okay.
DeAndre Carter, not like a traditional receiver, but maybe he's in there for some, they're trying to figure out who this fourth wideout is, I think.
I think you have it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 guys here that I could confidently, that I'd be okay with.
Okay, outside of top three, who are the other two?
So you got Judy, Cedric, Thrash.
Yep.
And then you got Gage and Isaiah Bond.
And then it's Carter as the sixth right now.
And then it's Carter.
I don't really think Carter is going to be on the field for many offensive snaps. I don't think that's what they plan on using him for.
But we know they don't. But they rather have 2 tight ends in than 4 receivers.
Exactly.
So this just doesn't. I can't figure out where does he fit in this equation on the 53-man roster, especially when you just saw what Caden Davis can do and the potential that's there.
Well, I think this is also partially the Jets. Surprisingly, I think in their minds, especially if they brought him in for a top 30 visit, surprisingly releasing him. I think they're partially reacting to that because, maybe they think he's better than Caden Davis or Gage Larvdan. Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, look, we love this guy. He's been here through camp, but if we had Malachi Corley available to us at camp, he would have been better than this guy. Maybe that's how they're also thinking.
It's just like what we were talking about off the stream where I was like, oh, this is right up Andrew Berry's protocol of signing guys that are one man's trash and another man's treasure. I mentioned it with the offensive lineman from the Patriots that got released,
Cole
former
Strange,
first rounder, former third rounder, another high guy that people are throwing away quick. Like, it's so right up Andrew Berry's wheelhouse to do something like this. So I see it from that lens. But from the fan perspective and the selfishness in me, it's like, I want to see what the guys that we got right now. I don't need to get attached to another guy. But welcome, man. I hope you thrive.
Yeah, I do too. I'm actually fascinated to see how he's used. But I want to ask you now as we talk receivers before we switch to tight ends, if there is going to be a receiver who takes a leap, we talked about this in April, I think. It's a very different receiver room now. If there's going to be a receiver who takes a leap, makes their presence more known than it was last year, or if they're rookie, just more known in the Browns offense this year, who do you think it is?
I think you can kind of flip between the two. So, like, on whatever day you want to pick, I'm fine with. And they're the obvious choices: Cedric Tillman and Jamari Thrash.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think Jamari Thrash has prime Jarvis Landry potential.
Okay.
Very, very reliable. It can find the open spot on the field. Can be a safety valve for quarterbacks. I think Cedric Tillman has that opportunity to be that guy. Like I just think back to that 2023 year. I know we had the stretch with Jameis Winston this past year, but there was something there the second that Joe Flacco came into this game, and he was finding Cedric Tillman every single week. And it's not like he was blowing up the stat sheet for 100+ yards, but you saw the potential in 2023 with him. He's going to be one of those guys where Joe Flacco needs to get a big chunk of yards. 19's up there somewhere. I'm just going to go throw it and let him get it. So, and that's something the Browns haven't had for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, and I talked about it a couple times. Like, I think back to the guys that Flacco has trusted and really found, quote, safety valves in, even though they don't play like it. The number one guy I continue to harp back on is Anquan Boldin. Love Anquan Boldin. But recently, like Michael Pittman and Alec Pierce, guys who played very well with Flacco. Amari Cooper in 2023 played very well. Even just watching David Njoku in 2023 just get opportunity after opportunity. Like Flacco feels comfortable just giving those guys chances, and that's why I think it's Cedric Tillman. I think Cedric Tillman is the guy who's primed to take that next leap, that big step that we all think he can. He's talented enough to make, but just hasn't yet for injury reasons, production quarterback reasons, whatever it is. I also, I said this about a month ago right after training camp, I can't stress enough that, from what we saw and when we were out there, like I thought Flacco was throwing to Tillman more than Jerry Jeudy. And, could have been a thing where Judy's covered by Denzel Ward and Denzel Ward's getting the best of him those couple days. Could have been a lot. But from what I can remember, it was the Tillman show. It was finding him before Jeudy. And, again, lots of reasons for that. But the receivers only take you so far. The tight ends are really what's going to be the money makers. And Harold Fannin Jr. scored a touchdown this past preseason game from Joe Flacco. That's a connection that's going to be special.
By the way.
Yeah.
I mean, between defenders and everything.
That's that connection. David Njoku had 2 catches in the drives that he had with Flacco. I mean, those guys are going to be the most important part of the offense. There's no doubt about it, especially when I think of the Stefanski offense, how it's going to operate. And honestly, Dylan Gabriel has done this more than I think Flacco has in the short amount of time we've seen. It's progressing, going through your reads, nothing down the field, check it down. It's just going to be Fannin and Njoku getting the football in their hands over and over and over and over again alongside those running backs. I'm excited to see it.
You want to talk about bowling balls at every position. Cedric Tillman, that's a bowling ball.
Yeah.
Harold Fannin, bowling ball. Have fun. David Njoku, bowling ball.
Yeah, good luck tackling
it. The only bowling ball we're missing is 10. Get the damn deal done. Yeah. My goodness, man.
Yeah, that would be it. And even like Dylan Sampson, without getting too far off the receiver and tight end track here, was a bowling ball in the last preseason game too, bouncing off tackles. Yeah. I just love seeing it. I'm excited for him. But yeah, I think the pass catcher room, we walked into the offseason before the draft saying there is a lot to be desired here. Trades got to happen. Drafts got to happen. Something has to happen. And we were like, what happened was Deontay Johnson and then 4 different hypotheticals for different trades. Chris Olave, Brandon
Carter
Ayuk.
happened and took number 2.
Yes.
After the draft.
Yeah, exactly. DeAndre Carter. I'm trying to think if there are any. I mean, Ayuk speculation, Olave speculation, Amari Cooper return. Trying to think if there are any other big names we threw around.
We're missing.
I don't know, but regardless, and then all the rookies we had mocked there. But I am more confident in this pass catcher room now. I think I'm more confident in it because of the personnel, but also because of Flacco.
I'm confident because of Flacco. Like everyone keeps throwing this age thing around. It's like, listen. Sometimes history is meant. There's a reason why odds are the way that they are. Once every so often, a guy comes around and does it.
Yeah.
Why can't Flacco be that guy? That's all I'm saying. We've seen it in 2023. Like I know it's still in there, and the consensus, you can't find one person who's watched Joe Flacco say, "Nah, he can't throw the ball no more."
Yeah.
There was always questions like you got to a point where you were looking at Peyton Manning was like, yeah, he don't got that same zip no more.
100%.
You look at some of these, like Tom Brady, he still had it. He just decided to walk away from it.
He might still have it right now.
He might still have it. That's what I'm saying. So it's like maybe Joe Flacco, he's the last of that breed.
Mhm.
He's proven to these young cats that he can still do it. He putting on for the old school. So
Yeah.
shout out Joe.
Shout out
He
to
going
Joe.
for 4,000 yards this year.
Wow.
He playing all 17 games. We going to the playoffs, and we got unfinished business coming from 2023.
I hope you are right. I hope you're right.
Get your 4-5 win prediction.
We'll talk about that later on. We're going to move to our next segment here on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land, presented by FanDuel on the Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay, and FanDuel is getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is almost here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Ohio, 21 plus and present in Ohio. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as a non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expires 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, we got Defensive Rookie of the Year conversations that need to be had. You talked about Carson Schlesinger potentially winning it last week, and now he's at what, plus 3,000?
Plus 3,000.
To win it. How confident are you there?
Well, he just got the Maurice Bassett Award for most outstanding rookie in training camp, voted by the media. Now, I just went down a little revisionist history. There was a stretch from 2003 to 2009 where there were linebackers galore winning the Defensive Rookie of the Year. There was also another guy who won Defensive Rookie of the Year, someone that I've been saying that he resembles a lot.
His parental comparison?
This is Luke Kuechly in 2012.
Yeah.
He won Defensive Rookie of the Year with these stats, okay? He beat out Bobby Wagner, Casey Hayward, Jacob Rabbit Jenkins, and Levante David. He had 103 tackles, 61 assists, 1 sack, 2 interceptions. You mean to tell me, if we look up every single week and we see Carson Schlesinger in that 8 to 10 tackles, that's 17 games over a course of a season at 10 tackles? Yeah. I mean, obviously that's a lot, but let's just say hypothetically he gets 110. He's not going to be in this conversation.
He will be in the conversation for sure.
So that plus 3,000 is looking
good,
like
yeah.
really, really not just good odds, looking like some great odds.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think there's a world where Schlesinger is undeniable on the stat sheet. I think Abdul Carter is going to be even more undeniable. Like that's the issue. Like, I know Schlesinger is going to be great. He, for all I care, could be the best rookie on the defense. I know Mason Graham was the 5th overall pick.
Plus 1,300, 14.
So like Mason Graham has good value too, but it's hard for defensive tackle to win. It's easy for a defensive end or outside linebacker to win, especially, when you're playing on a defensive line with other guys who are going to make your life easier. It's just so hard to see a world where he doesn't win. But another guy that's on there that I want to talk about, Jahdae Barron. We've seen it's so rare for DBs to win Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie. It's just so rare for it to happen. There's one person that's done it recently prior to Stephon Gilmore, and it was Pat Surtain. It was somebody who's excelled in that defense. Who?
Sauce.
Oh, Defensive
Sauce
Rookie of the Year, yeah. Oh, good point.
Wasn't that what you were talking about?
I was saying Defensive Player of the Year.
Oh, my bad.
But
I thought you were talking about Rookie of the
That's
Year.
a good point, though, because a corner has won it. Now, Jahdae Barron's more like a nickel. I don't think he's going to be the true outside number 2. I think that's Riley Moss, if I'm not mistaken, still there. But Jahdae Barron's a guy who's going to be able to step up, make plays, and be a consistent force in that defense. Really hard to stuff the stat sheet as a DB like that. Like, you need some serious interception numbers, PBU numbers. But I think if there's a linebacker that's going to win it, it's Carson Schlesinger.
They have them listed as a defensive end or outside linebacker, Abdul Carter.
I want to say outside linebacker.
Okay, so
he's playing the same.
In recent history, since 1995, an outside linebacker has won it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times since 95.
Wow, okay.
So that's odds aren't in his
no,
favor.
You're right.
That's for sure.
What about defensive ends?
Defensive end, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ooh. Okay,
So,
maybe
or five.
Maybe
and
maybe
then
I'm
95
casually,
and 96, so 7.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Okay, so maybe I'm overcompensating for positional value, but I do think that he's going to be undeniable there.
Last
It's all
season
about
was an outside linebacker curse
Yes.
from the Rams. So
yes,
Verse.
Jared Verse.
Jared Verse.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him having the same type of impact. That's why I like him. But I think Schlesinger there, like you said, it's great value, especially from what we've seen in the preseason. It's just everybody can see it across television. Everybody can see it on Twitter. Like, he's just making plays. The way he acts, he pulls the trigger quick, he doesn't hesitate, and he plays fast. And that's hard to do in general. But it's even harder to do when, if we're calling a spade, the linebacker room around him is not as good as we thought it would be.
I mean, and think about how hard it's going to be. I mean, this is a good problem to have if you're Carson Schlesinger, but we saw him with guys that are second and third stringer. When we're talking about Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward, Grant Delpit, like those are 4 guys on that defensive side of the ball that he is just going to be able to fly around and do what he wants. Like, he's got a real keen opportunity here. This whole defense has an opportunity, which is also why my futures bet that I had on the 26th, I had to throw in Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year because it's literally set up for this guy to win it.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, this is a pretty solid defense around all those guys, and I think we overlook how much easier, because life is never easy, how much easier life gets for Carson Schlesinger, a player in the linebacker room, when you got Myles Garrett in front of you and you have the starting defensive lineman. But that is what we were on or talking about, at least for Defensive Rookie of the Year. We're going to talk defensive side of the ball up next as it relates to the 53-man roster, up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I am Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay, and yet again, we have more breaking news. We're going to talk defensive side of the ball, but Zay, you had something probably 20-ish minutes ago in this episode, a prediction, and it literally came true while we were recording. Go ahead.
What did I say, guys? I said Andrew Berry is so predictable in some of his moves when another man's trash can become his treasure. And the example that I used, what's his name? Cole Strange. I wanted to go Carson Strong. I don't know why. But Cole Strange, former first rounder, finds his way on the Browns practice squad. Exactly like I said. One man's trash is Andrew Berry's treasure. It is so predictable.
Yeah, no, it is very predictable. We didn't really talk much about the offensive line, but truthfully, it's what we've expected. Ethan Pochich seems like is on track to play week 1. We wait to see it closer to the date, but the injury was not super serious, which is so good because we talked about potentially playing the starters. But defensive side of the ball, another piece of news that's dropping as we speak is Mike Hall working off to the side of practice, which is good to see. I mean, we'll start just holistically as a defense. Any surprises? Anybody who you saw that made the roster that turned ahead? Anybody who didn't make the roster that you were confused about? Because I know there's one that I'm very excited about that did make the roster. I want to know your thoughts first, though.
Well, they brought back the guy that I was shocked of, Julian Okwara. I thought for sure he would at least get a spot. He had, 3 sacks in the last 2 preseason games combined?
I don't know.
Or if it wasn't, it was 2 sacks and maybe a couple tackles for losses. But you mentioned it when we talked about, when we just glossed over it, the depth.
Yeah.
So, I don't want to say I was too surprised by any of the cuts on the defensive side of the ball, just because that if there's one thing that we can hang our hat on is the defense in the linebacker room, but there was no surprise there for me. So.
Yeah, no, I think the defensive line, there was always going to be a cut where you're like, dang, that stinks because it's so deep. That was just going to be the reality. Linebackers so thin that it wasn't really anything super crazy. DB was where I was interested. Donovan McMillan was the guy who stuck out to me, who had a very, very good in the preseason.
Again,
definitely deserved.
Undrafted guy. More local guy, Pennsylvania guy, if I'm not mistaken as well. But seeing him is great. It makes you feel a little more comfortable with the development process in the safety room. Still a lot of question marks there, though. Christopher Edmonds, a guy who... I was going to say, were you shocked with that?
It was going to be one of the two. I came to the piece in my mind that it was going to be one of the two, but seeing Christopher Edmonds back on the practice squad is awesome. Yeah,
huge. Yeah, I'm super excited. When we had our chalk talk when we were there, he was one of the guys that I mentioned. Hey, we should try to get him on the show.
Yeah.
He's undrafted guy, safety.
Awesome guy.
Reminded me a lot of what the Ronnie Hickman situation was and how Ronnie Hickman came in that 2023 year and put himself on the map.
Yep.
Had an intercept. He actually had that pick 6 against the Jets clincher, so he had some of that experience there. And then obviously he didn't have a great playoff performance.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the Donovan McMillan for him to be on the roster because Just like the whole Andrew Berry likes to get his best bang for his buck in terms of past high rookies or past high draft people, he loves undrafted guys.
Yes.
He always seems to find one gem or two. Is that going to be Huntington? Is it going to be him? Who's going to be this year's undrafted guy that we're looking at? Like,
how about Aiden Huntington?
That guy.
I mean, it's like.
Did you see the one breakdown? One of the
Baldy.
Brian
Baldinger.
breakdown was so good.
It's so good, and the best part about that is I think Andrew Siciliano brought it to light on Twitter. I think that's who I saw it from. There was an interview with Aiden Huntington, maybe after practice. It was after he made the roster, talking about that breakdown, saying how much he loved watching those breakdowns, like growing up, saying he had clips saved on Twitter, I assume from other defensive linemen, but clips saved on Twitter of Brian Baldinger breaking down film. Like, that's a full circle. Like, that's something that just doesn't happen in a lot of people's lives. Like, it's such a great story. And then you see him on special teams and offense, and you're like, who is this guy? Where has he been?
First down on special teams is wild.
Yep.
For a 280-pound line.
Yep. And remember the Nick Harris usage, the
that's
fullback?
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's kind of where my mind went. But that's not a sub-package O-lineman. That's a big body. That's just a big body that's going to come in there and move people, which I'm very, very excited about. But truthfully, not a ton of surprises on the defensive depth. I think we all are on the same page with who the starters are, who the 8 defensive linemen that are going to be rotating in are, the sub-package DBs. How well they produce is a question. We'll see. But the sub-package DBs, I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. And truly, especially in the back end, there's going to be no better test than week 1 against Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean, the guys, when you talk about our secondary, Miles Harden is going to be a guy that I'm peeled on to. Last preseason in training camp, had some flashes. His name was pretty much in every practice that I can remember.
Yes.
I think he had a couple opportunities last season, and it didn't go the way that we all would hope, but he's going to have an opportunity. You're looking at this DB room, and, man, we can't afford any injuries. Yeah. We can't afford Denzel Ward to get banged up. We can't afford Greg Newsome to get banged up, because after that, it's Cameron Mitchell, Dom Jones, and Miles Harden. So I mentioned it a few shows ago, man. The defensive line is going to be the key for this secondary to be good enough to not get destroyed.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think you've talked about a bunch. I think everybody's kind of on the same page as well as a fan base. Defensive line's going to make that life a lot easier for them back there. Don't know if that was the case during the preseason. Again, you can compare first string, second strings, but you can't compare as not having Myles Garrett out there to having Myles Garrett out there like that. That's not a real, comparison. Yeah. But I'm with you. I think if the secondary stays healthy and the defensive line creates the type of pressure we think it will, then it's going to be a good unit.
Like, I'm expecting just to see that rush, and let's see Cam Mitchell get some picks, man.
Yeah, we need it. We need that bad.
He's made some good plays and tackling. Like, he saved us in that Chicago Bears game. Yep. Like, he's had a lot of flashes. Now, let's go make a name for yourself, too. Now, you my dog. Go make a damn name for yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's one more player that has to make a name for themselves. We'll talk about them in the final segment up next on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. Welcome back into Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network. I'm Max Loeb. He is Chef Zay. We're going to finish up here. But before we do, the huge elephant in the room we waited 40-ish minutes to talk about, a Dustin Hopkins cut. Andre Smith, starting kicker. We've talked about the importance of a coach believing in his kicker. We've talked about, as dumb as it sounds, the importance of making extra points. Didn't think it was going to happen. Thought it maybe should. Didn't think it would. And here we are.
As I'm sitting here giggling in my seat right now, am I the reason Dustin Hopkins went left? Listen, and the reason why I say this, we got to go back. We got to go back to 2024 training camp. Jerome Ford got me friends and family passes to training camp, so I had the special seats. Dustin Hopkins came out, shook my hand, and in the video that I made, I was like, did Dustin Hopkins? I just shook the best kickers in the leagues. And did I transfer some L powers to him?
You ever seen the movie Thunderstruck?
No.
When a kid Thunderstruck is when Kevin Durant transfers his talent to a kid through a basketball.
Okay.
I'm wondering if you can go kick extra points right now.
That may be, because ever since I shook his hand, and I said in the video, I just shook the best kickers in the league hand. He's been missing kicks ever since. Yeah. Is it my fault that Dustin Hopkins is buns?
Gosh, I hope not. Maybe you could be the first ever Browns practice squad player on the influencer committee. That'd be pretty cool.
Maybe I need to go get a walk in the Coach Stefanski's room like Bobby Boucher and offer a free tryout. I'll do it for free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and you know what? If you're making extra points, maybe I'll compensate you for doing that. Who knows? But
hey.
Yeah, we are about
I'll
a week
take a
away
Cleveland
from the first.
burger. I'll take a Cleveland burger.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, shout out Cleveland Grill. We're about a week away from the first game, guys. I mean, we'll be back next week to talk about that full breakdown, that look ahead to the Bengals.
And then it's game time.
It's game time. They start to count now. Anything you want to finish up with?
Yeah, make sure when it is game time, we're gonna have special episodes coming out with the whole post game like live reaction. We're gonna get y'all involved. So we got some things
Absolutely.
ready. It's gonna be a big season over here. So
We're very excited. And as always, we appreciate you guys watching and listening. We will see you next time on Honor the Land on Big Play Sports Network.